talk about the evolution or some of the realizations that you had maybe early on that, might have, you decided that this is what you're going to do. So you jumped in with both feet, and then you started to flesh out your process or the path within real estate investing that you wanted to pursue. And you mentioned that there were some maybe dead ends or some brick walls that you might have hit or realizations that you had. So can you kind of talk through some of those that came early on?
Yeah, I think it's kind of similar to the same experience that I described on the management consulting to technology, technology to marketing to real estate. It's through this process of trying different things, through this process of experimentation and trial and error that you end up being able to get much more clear on what it is that you actually want. Right. And I was fairly young. I started in real estate at 27. I'd flipped over 200 houses by age 29 and a half, 30. And so in those 3 years, I was able to experiment a lot. But even leading up to that, it was a lot of trial and error. But the key was, before getting into that position of deciding what that trial is going to be, if you spend a little bit of time communicating, talking with other people who are in the space, interviewing and understanding what are the things they like, what do they not like, and then reflecting internally, what is it that you're the best at? What is it that you're good at? What kind of life do you want to design? And what would that illustration look like? When you can get that vision in mind, it makes it much easier to more effectively choose the experiments, the trials that you're going to execute, because it's a mindset shift from thinking that it's possible to fail to shifting that to it's impossible for me to fail unless I don't learn something, unless I don't give 100%, or going into it from a perspective of, well, if I do try this, or if I do give my all and I put 100% into this venture, I go and buy my first rental property, or I go invest passively in a commercial real estate deal. Well, what's the worst that could happen? Okay, the worst that could happen is I could lose my money. The worst that could happen is I could go totally bankrupt. Well, what happens after that? Once I get through all of that distress, what happens after that? Well, I probably need to go back and become a management consultant or go back to my job, or worst case scenario, I got to go take up some type of job that isn't in alignment with my skill set to make income until I get back to that place. And maybe that's 1 or 2 year total timeline of learning. But what's the best thing that could happen? Well, as a result of me going out and giving my all at something, that I could learn a new skill. I could learn something that I don't like, which is as valuable, in my opinion, as what you do like, because it's going to give you the information to figure out how you're going to navigate forward to what that vision is actually going to be. But the other upside is, well, if I do really well at this, if I invest in this deal and I end up having a great return and I end up building confidence and I end up creating the financial flexibility, independence for me and my family, well, what does that compound, or how does that compound over the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? And if you think out on a long-term perspective, the mistakes that you make early on, as long as you're continuing to make them quickly and you make the lessons that you learn implemented quickly, then you can come from a perspective of being able to quickly determine where you're best in alignment. And so, kind of just to underline this, in my real estate business, I had a high volume fix and flip company. I was working in 2 different states with 2 different business partners. One of them was an experienced operator, somebody who had over 15 years, nearly 20 years of experience flipping houses. He knew that business in and out, which is the reason I partnered with him, because I knew that I didn't know that part of the business. I could excel in other parts, but I didn't know that part. And then I had another business partner who aligned on all these values and was able to bring so much incredible value. And so together we built this amazing company. We made over $1 million in revenue our first year. I made more money that first year than I ever made in my life. And we continued that progress. But as a result of that, because I took that action, because I put myself out there, because I took all of these little actions that built up and took some risk, I was able to learn that my ideal client is other people who are like me. other people who are driven to have the vision of a better life, people who are looking to attract abundance into their life. They believe that they can have the amazing career and the amazing wealth and the amazing family, and they're determined on finding a way to learn how they can do this and the thoughts and beliefs that are going to be the fuel to get them there. Those kind of people, they fill me up. The people I was serving in my fix and flip business, the people that we were buying houses from at 60 cents on the dollar, the people who were grateful that we were able to help them in their situation and solve their problem, yet were not at the same mindset level or even interested or believing that it was possible, I wasn't able to make as much impact and it wasn't filling me up. So even though I was making a lot of money, I realized that it was going to be critical for me to think from a 30-year perspective, who are the ideal clients, the people that I want to serve, and how can I serve them? And that's really what made the pivot to focusing on, building a private equity company for real estate investors, being able to go out and raise capital and work with best-in-class sponsors and be able to vet these deals for the hard-driving entrepreneurs and executives that are out there that are busy doing what they do best, busy making money in their life, and they want to find a way that they can build more flexibility and freedom. Now I've actually been able to do even more. And it's like leaving one thing that is ultimately successful and making you a ton of money to take the risk in order to serve somebody and make a bigger impact and have the opportunity to make even more money, which in my eyes, money is just a catalyst for impact, is really exciting. And I would have never been able to have that distinction. And I definitely would have never taken the risk to leave something that was making me so much in order to be able to deliver so much more if I wouldn't have taken those steps over and over again to learn.
That's so critical. That vision that you talk about is, I've been talking a lot about that on this channel and on this podcast a lot lately, because I think that's the critical piece that people overlook. They want to know all the tactics around like what do I do right now, but they don't have that vision, especially the long-term vision, like you talked about 10, 20, 30 years down the road. And so how are you making decisions? What are they based off of if you don't have that? So I love that you brought that up.